Arrogant, throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting the fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Trying to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That's church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, cannot describe it. Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. Hit every bar, even though my bar's been the hardest. The scars on my face, and I ain't always been the smartest. But I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my...
The type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people. I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm liking to Mike Tyson. I'm a bison, a beast. I'm hot like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yeah, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant. Tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retro fit. I guess so lit, I guess so bitch, now let's go.
I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody...
Let that breathe, Pinky. Welcome
bro, I'm
again
happy, bro.
to another Sports Nonsense and Whiskey Tuesday. Boy, man, it's cruising right along this year. March 7th. Can you believe that? Sorry, March 7th, Pinky? What is happening with this year? My guy, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing better now. Just $175.
Hi, boy. Hi, boy. Tell you what, man, you throw that song on. I just say it's our song now since that artist was so kind as to allow us the rights to use it. So throw our song on, man, and my mood will pick up real quick.
I do like it. I like it. I got some. I tried some whiskey and I put some blackberries in there and let it sit for about 2 hours and got a little bit of a little blackberry. That's pretty good. You
gotta muddle it just a little bit, not smash them, but just there you go.
I smashed them up a little bit before I put them in.
Attaboy. Oh, that's probably delicious. Blackberry and whiskey goes so well together. So do blackberry and amaretto. Is it amaretto? Cherries?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Those are my two favorite for sure. Well, peach. Peach is its own category with me. So those other two are delicious for sure. For sure.
So we got some. Our boy Bubba was already in the show before we got in. We appreciate the support, my man.
Bubba's the guy. Bubba, I need you to do whatever you got to do to get these numbers up, my guy. Because the more numbers we have, the more content we can create, the more we can get out there, and then we can just bring you. You can just come be a super fan or something. Just come hang out with us. Why not? Right. We'll get a studio and everything, and you can just come chill, my guy. Go get on the street corners, man. Let's start getting the word out there. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, goodness.
Well, we got a good episode for you guys tonight.
Oh, it's going to be wonderful.
Especially for any of you hockey fans.
Yeah, we got our boy Cody coming on here in a little bit. He's going to give us some hockey rundown. We don't know as much about hockey as maybe we would like or we should. I used to follow it a lot closer, and once Kroenke decided to be a dick and fight with himself over TV rights, we haven't been able to watch the Avs or the Nugs in 3 years. So
I watched the Avs.
Yeah, you can because you don't have Comcast. So you can get away with it a little bit more.
I do have Comcast.
You do?
Yeah,
How are
I
you
just have to
watching the ads?
I have to watch it on ESPN Plus with my Wi-Fi not turned on.
Yeah, see, that wasn't working for me for some reason. I'll have to try it again. But either way, it's stupid. So I haven't followed hockey as much these last 3 years as I used to. But I will say, Pinky, today I can't remember what I was doing, but I had family in town. We'll get to the weekend here in a second. But I was reminded of I believe it was 1991, when the Bulls won their first title. Penguins won a title. Cody will have to correct me if I'm wrong here in a minute, but I believe the Penguins won a title with Lemieux and Yager. And I was reminded of how great that duo was and what could have been had Mario not gotten cancer and had to take some time off. So that was kind of a fun memory looking back on that. Playing street hockey all the time and hanging out. So definitely get our hockey groove on. And then no basketball tonight, guys. Sorry, there's just not that urgency. Well, I mean, there's a couple things we'll discuss, but
there's one topic we got to talk about.
Yeah, one thing that we will discuss, but it's not going to be heavy content like it was last week per se, because this is a pretty big day in the NFL, and there's been some things going down that are going to require our time to discuss this evening, and then it won't be a whole lot more until the draft. There'll be bits and pieces here and there, but once the draft comes around, we'll get heavy again, and we'll fill that time with basketball. I mean, we got the tourney coming up. We will have brackets set by the time we are on next Tuesday. We got all the conference tourneys going on. We're going to have this whole week. You're going to start hearing about the automatic qualifiers. So there's going to be a lot to discuss next Tuesday between the NBA and obviously the NCAA with the tournament coming up. So we will be heavy on that next week. So with that being said, Pinky, there was some nonsense that we were a part of this weekend that I thought was a lot of fun. And good buddy of ours who started this podcast with us, our boy Zach, he turns 40 on the 10th, but we celebrated it this last weekend and got a bunch of us together, surprised him at Top Golf, and he thought he was just coming to hang out with me and my wife for a little date night. And unbeknownst to him, there was a group of people waiting around the corner and surprised the heck out of him.
That was a good night, man. I had a good time. I do suck at golf, something fierce. So but it's still fun to do, even though I really suck. But that's, I just got to get out there more often.
Hey, I'm terrible as well, so I play and I'm terrible, so I wouldn't feel too bad, my guy. So we got to do that. We got to celebrate Zach's 40th. There was plenty of fun, laughter, and a lot of whiskey. Flowing through those veins while we were playing.
I got lucky, man. Our waitress didn't charge me for like 3 of mine.
What?
Yeah.
Damn. Nice.
She charged me for old-fashioned. I had like 4 of them.
I probably ended up on somebody else's bill and nobody saw it twice.
Well, I saw the bills. We had the highest bill.
Did you?
Yeah. Between
I had a few. I was drinking straight whiskey. Yeah, you bought the tequila shots for Zach.
The Patron shots were 11 apiece.
I felt like my bill was a lot cheaper than I was expecting it to be, especially considering the amount of whiskey I consumed that night. But I did hold myself back a little bit. I could have had more. I thought about having more, but let's be honest, I didn't, because my son turned 2 on Sunday. That was his birthday, so we had a bunch of family in town to celebrate that. So I woke up and I was a little worse for wear, but we got to go to one of the best breakfast spots in all of Southern Colorado. We went to the Coffee Cup and
pretty good.
Mowed down some delicious breakfast food and some water and some coffee and some milk, and I was ready to go after that. So it was good.
I don't know what Bubba means by that, but you're welcome anytime, Bubba. Send us a link and we'll get you in sometime.
Bubba, you want to get on camera? Is that what you're trying to say? You want to put your mug next to our ugly mugs? By all means. Bring some quality to the show. That's what we're lacking these days.
All right,
Quality.
come here and say hi. Come say hi. Come on. Come on. Come say hi.
So yeah, good weekend. A lot of fun. Not ready for this week to kick off, but things happen, and you just gotta roll with it.
Oh man, I got to watch the UFC fights after the Top Golf. That was good. And then I got to watch Creed 3 on Sunday.
My wife saw a commercial for that, and she goes, "We should go see that." I said, "Yeah, after we see the first two."
Right.
like I'm not. There's no point in me going and watching the third one if I haven't seen the first two yet.
Great comment. The Avs are up 3-0. So in the first period. So it looks like they're doing what they need to do.
So they are going to go over. My bad.
I didn't bet that.
Okay.
I took the McKinnon.
Good.
I took the McKinnon to score. So
McKinnon's going to score. He's max scoring in that show.
He
already scored?
30,
oh, good.
He scored 30 seconds after I bet it.
Beautiful. We're starting to look like the Avs again. And I know Cody will talk about this more in a little bit, but they're finally starting to get healthy, and it'll be fun to watch to see how they end the season. Other than that, there wasn't much else going on. I will say, God bless him, my son is a sports fan. And that just makes Dad's heart very happy, because if he wasn't a sports fan, I would have been a little bit bummed, because that would have meant I still have no one to enjoy the beautiful games with. So hopefully he continues that streak and always loves it, and I've got somebody to go hang out with and do all the fun things with.
That's fun. That's really fun. You can't go wrong there. He has, I think I've bet him to score, I want to say 3 or 4 times in the last 2 weeks, and he's hit at least 2 or 3 of them. So
he's no McDavid right now, unfortunately. He could, for a superstar and one of the best in the game, he could be a little bit more consistent for my liking, but he's still a beast.
McDavid had 5 games straight with 2 goals. I bet him to have a goal. Nothing.
Of course. Why not?
Broke the streak.
Why? Why else would it be anything different?
And then the next day, of course, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, oh, it's negative 125. So you got to put a decent amount on him to score to make some money, and he scores, of course. So I didn't bet that day. So
well, I think we're into the hockey already, so we may as well bring our guy on.
Let's get Cody in here. Let's get this.
Yeah.
Introduce
our boy Cody. Let's get him in here and let him educate us all a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, Cody. Cody, how you doing, my guy?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, fellas?
Doing well. Good to see you, man.
It's good to see you. It's good to be back on.
It's been a minute. What last time we talked to you was Stanley Cup, right before the Stanley Cup.
Yep. So
that's been a little while.
So, we could just jump right into it and talk some arms race trade deadline talk.
Absolutely. Run it down for us, sir.
Well, if we want to start at the top, the Boston Bruins are looking like they're going to win the President's Trophy, and they just got stronger. So they picked up Dmitry Orlov with a 3-team trade with the Capitals. So they picked up that top defenseman from the Capitals, and his first game popped 2 goals. So that just beefed up their offensive D line. And then they picked up Tyler Bertuzzi from the Red Wings, and he's just a fast forward, plays hard, and that's another depth piece to.
Is that the same Bertuzzi that Colorado fans all hate with a burning passion?
No, I think this is like a relative. You're thinking Tyler Bertuzzi.
Thank you. Yeah, we don't like that guy at all.
Yeah. So So it's an arms race in the East. And also now jumping to the Rangers, they picked up Patrick Kane. So any piece the Bruins did, someone always had a counter. The East is just so deep right now. So yeah, and then the Lightning have picked up a few pieces. They picked up Tanner Jeannot from the Predators. That's a good depth piece forward lines. And then the Toronto Maple Leafs, they picked up a few pieces as well. They picked up McCabe, a good defenseman, and Dick McCabe, and Sam Lafferty, a forward guy, gives them another depth piece. So, but that Boston Bruins team is going to win the President's Trophy.
They're probably winning the cup, bro.
Have you ever heard of the President's Trophy curse, Pinky?
I have.
Avs are the only ones to get over that, buddy.
There's one. When was the last time a President's Trophy winner won the cup?
Last year, wasn't it? Weren't the Avs the President's Trophy and won the cup?
No. The President's Trophy winner.
That's right. They lost it that last week of the season or so.
It's been 10 years. Last team to win the President's Trophy and the Cup was 2012-2013 Chicago Blackhawks.
That makes sense. That team was nasty. Yeah. That team back to back, right?
It was a back to back, but that year they won the President's Cup too. But ever since then, the President's Trophy winner has not got past the second round.
That's why the Avs are repeating, baby. Because Boston's cursed themselves already.
Oh yeah, the Avs did make a move. They brought back Jack Johnson, used up their defensive core. Avs just got to get healthy. That is the main thing. So
fully healthy, Cody. Fully healthy. Do they have what it takes to compete with Boston and look at repeating?
The Avs have got to play their game. They can't get into anyone else's game. They got to play fast and get 3 goals up right away. So, I mean, if they can get fully.
It's really weird. The Avs are playing completely different than they played last year. And there's another podcast on our network that focuses on the Avs. And they made a great comment that, for the Avs this year, they're playing – last year, they'd be behind and they could come back like no matter what. And this year, they're just not playing with that same ability. They have to get up, like you said. They have to play fast. They have to get up early, and then they got to find a way to stop blowing leads.
When you're missing minimum half your core all season, it's hard to play your game.
Hard to get in a groove.
I mean, last year the Avs played so great that the goalie could just not let in more than 3 goals and you guys would win. Like, they need to play their game so the goalie, it takes off a load from the goalie.
How do you feel, speaking of goalies, how do you feel about Georgiev and the way he's played this year with his first year as a full-time starter?
For sure, a full-time starter. It's a little different. You don't have that true backup, but your guys' backup, I can't pronounce his name right now. He's solid.
We got you, Francois.
Francois. He's super solid. Like, he's a solid backup. I mean, just you could play the hot hand if you had to. But Georgiev, he's shown flashes. I mean, I think he, like you said, if the Avs could play their game, jump up 3 goals right away, takes a load off the goalie, and he can get into a groove and just cover the goal.
What up, Diego?
I like hearing that. What do you feel? Let me rephrase that. With Kane was somebody I was looking at that I thought the Avs could possibly go after and really beef that line and look for that repeat without really having to mortgage too much of the future to do so. Do you feel there was something the Avs missed at that trade deadline that they needed to run it back and compete, or do you feel like they do have the pieces, they just need to get healthy, and they're kind of putting all their chips in that basket?
I mean, they picked up another defenseman. You always need a good defenseman rotation on that back end. Jack Johnson's a stay-at-home guy. You guys have 3 great offensive defensemen that can join the rush. You always need that. You need a stay-at-home guy like Josh Manson, Jack Johnson, Eric Johnson. Like you have those 3 that stay at home, that matches well with those offensive defensemen that like to join the rush. And they picked that up. So I mean, yeah, you always want forward depth. As much forward depth as you can. I mean, if they were able to grab Kane, that would have been amazing. But Patrick Kane has 2 years left, 3 years left, in my opinion. He's getting along in the tooth, so. I mean, yeah, you always want to pick up forward depth, but I mean, sometimes you miss, but you also don't want to give mortgage the future, so.
I don't think the Avs had a lot of trade pieces to really trade with at this point that made some of that deals like not even an option, really.
Exactly, yes. So, I mean, but the East just kind of beefed up. The East is just beefed up. Like it seemed like everyone went to the East. And then a few contenders to the Avs, the Wild picked up some players. They picked up John Klingberg from my Ducks. He's a good offensive defenseman. And then they also picked up Marcus Johansson, a good centerman from the Capitals. So the Wild, beefed up as well. So that's going to be an Avs contender. And did you guys hear about the Jonathan Quick story? He gets traded from
traded.
Refresh my memory.
Yeah, he got traded. He got traded from LA Kings to Columbus Blue Jackets, and he said, "I don't want to be here." So Vegas Golden Knights come knocking. Hey, we'll take him off your hands. He lasted like a half day there, and he was like, "Nope." So, I mean,
which is wild because the Knights go from an all-time great in Fleury to another all-time great in Quick, and you could argue both are on the back half of their career, but still playing at a really high level.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Avs are going to have a tough time in playoffs, but if they can play fast and play their game and not get stuck playing someone else's game, they can make a run.
So Cody, with the East being, I mean, to me it feels like it's top heavy, but that top heavy is elite. Do you feel like you're looking at a situation almost like it was last year, where that top heavy East is going to beat up on each other? We're looking at 6 or 7 games a series, and that could play into the favor of whoever does come out of the West, hoping it is the Avs and them playing a little bit more of a finesse game, if you will.
Totally. That East is just going to beat up on each other. Like I said, Boston's at the top. You always have Tampa Bay Lightning. They're always a contender. The Carolina Hurricanes, they're looking good. The Rangers are on the rise with their goalie, their young goalie. So they're going to be a contender for a while. So it's just going to be a bloodbath in the East. And yeah, definitely. Like whoever can come out of the West is definitely going to have an advantage. So I see a bunch of
so many good teams over there.
7-game series. So
I mean, you like hearing that. Obviously, we're homers for the Avs, and the fact that they may not hit their full stride if they can get healthy. I mean, that's the biggest if, and there's no guarantee on that yet. They've still got quite a few looking to come back. But if they can get healthy, I don't think they hit their stride until after the first round. So they've got to get out of the first round before they even start hitting their stride again. So, if that be the case, it's nice to think that you might be getting some help just because those other teams are beating up on each other on the other side of that bracket, if you will.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to be, like I said, like the Central has really beefed up. The Jets beefed up. The Wild beefed up. I mean, if the Avs fall to a wild card, I mean, they can still make a run no matter what. They just got to slip into the playoffs. And once they're healthy, just get that first series under their skates and just get going.
What would you say
past round 2, right, Cody? We got to just get past round 2.
You got to get past round 2.
Yeah,
Boston has to get past round 2. That probably isn't going to happen if the curse stands.
Yeah, for sure. What was your biggest takeaway from the trade deadline and going into this last month or so of the season?
I mean, my biggest takeaway is the East. Like, it just got so loaded so fast, and the Central Division got loaded again. They want to take out the Avs. People want to take out the Avs. You always want to take out the top dog. So I mean, the Avs are going to have a big challenge in their hands. But if they can play fast and play their game, I think they'll be in good shape.
I love hearing that. Pinky, you got any final thoughts here you want to talk to Cody about?
Cody, I think there's a team that's kind of on the, coming up, a lot of young guys, and it seems like they're playing pretty good of late. What do you think about the Buffalo Sabres?
Yeah, that team's in the East. They're gonna be knocking. I think they're gonna miss playoffs maybe this year, but next year they're gonna be a team to watch because they have some great young players. Another team you're going to want to watch in the East is the Ottawa Senators. They're right there as well with them. And they picked up what's his name? They picked up a defenseman from Jacob Chitrin from the Coyotes. They picked him up, and he's a good young defenseman. So that's the Ottawa Senators and the Buffalo Sabres going to be teams to watch next year. I think they'll be in the race towards the end, but I think they'll fall short just because of their youth and, but who knows, they may surprise and slip into that 8th seed. So you don't want to face a young team in the playoffs because they'll just run you into the ground.
Absolutely.
It looks like right now, I always get confused by this because it's the two.
Yeah, right now, Buffalo and Ottawa are like 2 spots out of the wild card, and they're right next to each other, sitting at 68 points.
Gotcha.
And the Islanders have the second wild card, and they're at 72 points, so they can make a run. But I mean, they're young teams. Young teams usually fall short just because they usually need a veteran piece to show the young guys how to do it.
Kind of get over that hump and learn what it takes. So those are great points, and those are great things to be looking for. Cody, if you want, we would love to have you stick around, talk a little football here coming up. We know you're a big football guy as well. You got your Boucher jersey on. So that a boy. So stick around with us. And guys, Cody will be back when the playoffs start. We love getting Cody on once the brackets, if you will, are set. We know all the seeds. We love having Cody on to kind of run through where he feels the matchups are, kind of the amount of games he thinks it'll take for each team to get through. So, we love having Cody on to do that. So he'll be back to talk some more hockey here in about a month? Oh, we're about a month out from playoffs.
There's like 20 games left, so about a month.
Yeah. So we will definitely have him back on to talk hockey and the playoffs. But Cody is a good buddy we met through the wonderful world of fantasy football, and Cody and I got to chopping it up randomly, and one thing led to another, and we were able to have this beautiful friendship blossom and let this man come on and educate us a little bit with the
I
hockey.
mean,
So
and
he
he's a
does
good
know
guy
his
too.
football as well. Yeah, good man, good man. If he was a jerk, he probably wouldn't be on here with us. So that helps. Um, so he knows his football as well. So we'll have him stick around here and chop up some of this NFL news that's gone down here in the past couple of days. But before we do that, I know there is a basketball thing here that needs some discussing. And Pinky, I'll let you throw that out there because you're wearing the gear tonight, my man. So I'm gonna let you introduce the idea.
Obviously, we're Nuggets guys, right? And
Just a little
there was a
bit.
big game the other night that had the Memphis Grizzlies coming to town, and the Nuggets are number 1. Grizzlies are number 2. It's a big showdown in Denver. Denver mopped the floor with them.
No. That's not easy. Hang on. Grizzlies had that game
They
in
hung
control for a good 3.5 quarters. It wasn't until about the middle of the fourth where Denver really started to push them away.
Oh, okay. So it was close for about 3, and then the wheels kind of came off, and Nuggets ran away with it, which they've actually been pretty good of doing this season. They'll
Absolutely.
stay close, and then they just kind of find that groove in the fourth quarter. But the MVP had a day. It was a good game. And then something happened that night at 5 a.m. in the morning that will definitely change the outcome of the West for the rest of the season. Somebody decided it was a good idea to go to Shotgun Willie's in Denver, party with his boys at the strip club, and flash a gun around on Instagram Live. John Morant, like one of the superstars, like one of the guys that the NBA is trying to push.
One of the faces of the league right now, for sure.
Just waving a gun around like it ain't no thing. In the middle of a nightclub.
So, Pinky, you will know this as well as I do, and those that are local listening will also be aware of this. Those not local may not be. As much as I love this state and I love Denver as a city, and it's what many consider a kind of a flyover. It's not known for necessarily a high crime rate and things of that nature. It has a past and a history with athletes and gun violence. And it's a sad history. And there have been a number of local athletes and a few non-local athletes who have unfortunately been introduced to injury due to guns in this state, being out late and in that downtown area. One of them being a former Bronco who lost his life. Another one was a Nugget who had some issues. The first thought I had when I saw the John Morant story was, at least that's as far as it went, and he got lucky.
I listened to Shannon Sharp, and he had a great take on it, and he was just like, I'm kind of wondering, like, if he had the gun at the nightclub, that means he got the gun on the plane. That means he had the gun in the arena, and the gun made it to the strip club. How's that even possible? And who thought that was a great idea?
I'll say he probably didn't have the gun at the arena because, as far as I know, all players do go through metal detectors. That's kind of been a thing ever since Agent Zero and Crittenton decided to make Washington D.C. Hold up to its word of murder, death, kill, if you will. And bringing the guns into the locker room and shoving them in each other's faces. I believe since then, players do go through security and metal detectors, so I doubt he had it at the arena. But you're right. By all accounts, he had it on the plane, sitting in his hotel room, went back, changed. And let's be honest, Shotgun Willie's is right downtown. It is right downtown. And there's a good chance there's 3 or 4 hotels right there that they could have been staying in that I know firsthand knowledge where professional teams stay, that is tops 5-minute walk from the strip club. So, leave the arena, go back to the hotel, change, go out with your boys. My question is, like, what was Memphis doing staying the night? Like, why were they even staying the night?
They had a game in LA the following day.
Jump to LA that night. Like, one of the easiest things you can do as an organization to keep your players out of trouble is not give them the opportunity to get in trouble. So if you leave at night after the game rather than in the morning the next day, this doesn't even happen. Now, it might happen in LA instead of Colorado, but it's not happening that night.
That's where I was going. I like, if they're partying at 5 a.m. in Denver, they're probably partying at 2 or 3 a.m. when they get to LA. So I think the trouble would have.
You're probably not wrong. You're probably not wrong. It probably was going to happen one way or the other. But, you know, as an organization, these are things that you should be thinking about when you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on these athletes. What's the old saying? You protect them from themselves. Like, that's the adage that you always hear. Memphis didn't really do anything to protect Ja from himself. Now, I'm not trying to put any blame on Memphis. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to do that. This was really simple. Let's be honest. All he had to do is not hit live on IG, and nobody's talking about this. Nobody's talking about this.
Right. Cody, what are your thoughts on that? I don't know if you follow basketball at all, but
I mean, I've been working in San Jose right by Golden State Warriors arena. So I always hear a lot of talk on the radio. I don't know if you guys heard earlier a Ja Morant story. Allegedly, he was playing a pickup basketball game against the 17-year-old and then pushed the 17-year-old on the ground.
So this happened in the offseason. As best I can tell, this happened last offseason. Originally, there was no issues, nothing reported, no charges filed, nothing happened. And then about a month ago, a little less than a month ago, all of a sudden, the 17-year-old's parents decided that they were going to press charges. And that was the first pretty much anybody had heard about that story. There was a little blurb when it first happened, and it got washed out and put under the rug really quick because apparently there wasn't a lot to go on. But now there is more to the story, apparently, that is coming to light. And Cody, he didn't just push him. Apparently, he also brandished a firearm in that 17-year-old's face at the same time.
You don't want so
the fact that happened in the offseason, and then that story broke again before this situation, and now this situation is happening. It really, really makes you question what Ja Morant is doing and who he's hanging out with, to the point he feels like he can be some part-time gangster. And let's be honest, I don't know about you guys. I am a big rap guy, big hip-hop guy. It's always been what I would prefer to listen to over anything else if I have the opportunity. And the first thing I thought of, because I know a lot about Ja Morant and stuff, first thing I thought of was the famous line by Mobb Deep, ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. And then I immediately thought of the 8 Mile movie, and Clarence lives at home with both parents, went to Pembroke, that's a private school. Ja Morant is all of those things, like legit, all of those. Private school, both parents, grew up very affluent by all accounts, and now the dude's trying to be a halfway crook, and it doesn't work. So whoever he's hanging out with, whoever he's got in his corner is a mistake. And the other thing that's really coming to light today, from a lot of different sources, Stephen A. Smith, Charles Barkley, I believe Shaq mentioned it. There's somebody else too. They're going after T. Morant, Ja's father. And they're saying, look, man, if you're trying to ride on your son's coattails and you're trying to be famous and you're trying to be his boy and part of his crew, it's time to stop. You need to be his father. And you need to adjust his head and make sure he realizes what he has at stake to lose. Now, he could already be doing that. And Ja's not going to listen. I know I was pretty stubborn and headstrong, and I was very infamous, if you will, for learning the hard way. Hell of a lot smarter than Ja Morant, though. I didn't do things that I knew was going to get me in trouble. and not do it in such a way where I was going to prevent myself from getting in trouble if I could. What Ja did was asking to be caught, asking to get in trouble. So it's got to make you wonder a lot of things and where this goes from here. Because like Pinky said, he brought that into the arena, which I doubt he did. But if it was on the team plane, which it most certainly was, that's an automatic 50-game suspension. NBA standards, 50 games, you're done. So that's the end of this year. That's the start of next year. Well, guess what? Memphis isn't recovering from that. So that's going to be 2 lost years for that organization and that core that they built. So it's going to put them in a bad spot. So there's a lot of angles to this story that just don't look good in any way.
Yeah, hopefully he turns it around. Hopefully learn something. When you have, whether it's your teammates, your boys, somebody needs to just be like, no, bro, you can't do that. Leave that at home. We'll go party. We'll have a good time. That's why we have bodyguards. That's why, we're all, 6'9", big ass dudes. Who's messing with us, right? You just don't need it. So, and we'll see if he faces Colorado gun charges as well. Colorado does take their guns seriously based on the history of gun violence in this state.
I think it's ridiculous that they're even investigating that. How can they press charges? Like, they didn't catch him. They didn't. There's no evidence that they can prove other than an IG Live. How are they going to prove that that's an actual firearm? Like, if I'm a lawyer, I'm literally going, this is fake, prove otherwise. And they can't. So the fact that Colorado even came out and said, we're investigating this publicly, like, get over yourselves. Like, come on. Seriously? Like, shut up. But whatever. So, yeah, Grizzlies are done. They're done.
Hey,
I posted
number 1, baby.
Posted a message on Facebook that got some ridiculous comments, but I said that was the beginning and the end of the Grizzlies dynasty, and it had to be somebody who really hates the Grizzlies, because the very first comment back was, "What dynasty? They haven't won anything," and they were very serious. And I was like, I can't even. Like, if there's one thing I've learned about having this Facebook page that we post stuff on and comment under and try to give our takes, it's that there's a lot of people out there who will claim to be sports fans that have little to no intelligence when it comes to sports, but still claim to be an expert. And the moment you throw factual evidence at them, the name calling and the personal attacks come up very quickly.
The Grizzlies are not a dynasty, but they were definitely a team that was going to be a contender in the West.
Well, it's tongue in cheek too. Like, I know they're not a dynasty. The idea is the fact that John Morant came out and said we're fine in the West, and they talked down to Golden State and all the bad mouthing they did to the Warriors and this and that. You got smoked last year. You came out and said you were going to win the West this year, and you're going to spend the next month falling down the board in the standings.
Hopefully to number 8.
They're not going to fall that far, Pinky. But the beauty is if we can get them down to 4 or 5, they could win their first round matchup, and then the Nuggets would get them in the second round, which would be ideal. So, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But, yeah, just boneheaded, stupid, as Red Foreman would say, dumbass. Lot of hashtag mistakes were made, as our boy Pinky would say.
Yes. That's my favorite. All right, enough of that. Let's talk some NFL. Let's talk it. Man, let's see.
Can we start with the big one? Can we just start with the big one, and then we'll kind of work our way down? Because I feel like there's a lot to discuss there.
You tell me the big one.
The fact that the NFL owners have openly colluded against Lamar Jackson.
You knew that was going to happen, though. That's not
right. I had to take a screenshot of this because it blew my mind that these teams were so open to already saying this. Let me grab this. Give me just a second, fellas. Here it is. As soon as as soon as the Baltimore Ravens,
Non-exclusive tagged.
thank you, non-exclusive franchise tag Lamar Jackson, Field Yates threw out this tweet. Teams that reportedly will not be pursuing a deal for Lamar Jackson include Falcons, Dolphins, Panthers, Commanders, Raiders. Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't all those teams the ones that were, before this happened, supposedly going to be the first ones knocking at the door to try and get a deal done with him? And now you're openly saying you're not going to even try to go after him? How is that not screaming collusion? How is that not saying, hey, Steve Bichetti, it was a pleasure speaking with you at the Combine. We know you're going to do your boy dirty, and we're all on it. That's a great plan. Screw him.
Well, I have a different take on that, Caleb. It's not screw him. It's we are not giving a guy Deshaun Watson guaranteed contract. It's not happening. That is the key factor in all of it. No owner, all owners, besides Jimmy Haslam, who's an idiot, wants to give a guy a guaranteed contract.
I get that, Pinky, but that's collusion. That's straight up collusion saying we as NFL owners have never won a guaranteed contract. This is the dude who finally actually deserves it and should have one, and we're going to say, hell no.
See, I disagree. I wouldn't give him a guaranteed contract. I don't think he's going to, he hasn't played a full season in the last 2 years. I can't pay a guy that kind of money. I just can't. I'll give him I'll do a Kirk Cousins deal and give him like 100 and we'll do a 3-year, $120 million guaranteed. We'll do that. He gets $40 million guaranteed for 3 straight years. Sure.
Okay. Let's. I'm gonna pause for a moment on where I'm gonna head with this, because I'm amazed that this hasn't been just spread like wildfire by Lamar's camp to make sure it gets out there. But Stephen A. Smith, I want to say beginning of last week or 2 weeks ago, was on First Take, and he came out and said that he was personally contacted by Lamar's camp to make sure that this got out there. Not once did they ever ask for a fully guaranteed contract. What they did ask for was guaranteed money equivalent to the guys that have just been signed, i.e. Kyler Murray. What the Ravens refused to go above in guaranteed money was 130. Which, if that is true, and why they would reach out to Stephen A. to say that if it wasn't, 130 is a slap in the face to Lamar Jackson if that's their guaranteed top dollar. Because everybody that's signed here in the last year and a half was getting more guaranteed than 130 million, and they weren't former league MVPs. They didn't have the same winning percentage as Lamar Jackson. They weren't the entire organization's offense. I can keep going down this list. So if that's the case, what's really happening here is Baltimore has done everything they can to do Lamar dirty, make sure he looks bad, putting out a false narrative of wanting this fully guaranteed. And the fact that, and Pinky, you said this, and I fully agree with you, the fact that he does not have an agent to look him in the face and say, look, dude, I know what you want. We tried to push the envelope. It didn't happen. If we do not take this deal now, you are going to get blackballed and locked out. Because everything I'm hearing from league circles is that nobody else is going to offer you that contract if they non-disclose, non-exclusive franchise tag. And he didn't have somebody in his ear telling him that, because him and his mom are doing his deal, and his mom isn't calling all these other franchises getting an inside.
I mean, he lost $10 million just on them doing the non-exclusive. The regular franchise tag would have gave him over 40-some million. This one's only 32.
So, coming back to where you're at, Pinky, how can you honestly believe this isn't collusion?
So, again, I just think it's honesty of the owners. Again, collusion, call it what you want. No, and again, if he doesn't want that guaranteed money, awesome. I still think he could get a deal done with the Ravens then if that's the case. But if he is asking for that large guaranteed contract, again, and an agent would tell Lamar to his face, Deshaun Watson had so much leverage and Cleveland was so desperate to get him. That's what they had to offer to get that deal done.
Agreed.
That's an albatross. That is not reality, right?
Agreed. But couldn't he then be the precedent? He could push for the guarantee, and then he becomes the legit precedent that needs to be set for players to finally get fully guaranteed contracts.
What do you think, Cody? Let me get your thought on this before I continue.
I mean, I see Caleb's side and I see your side. Like, he's not. My brother's a Ravens fan. He's somewhat following this. He's like, Lamar just needs to sign, blah blah blah. And I'm all like, he runs. I go, Lamar has a point. He runs your whole offense. And I go, everyone else has been paid. Like, he's the only quarterback. He has an MVP and has not been paid. So Caleb is right. He deserves to get paid.
Well,
but I mean, the whole blackball thing, like he's kind of right. Like, he needs to have an agent say, look, like, these are your options. And I think if he can just get an agent, he'll sign somewhere.
If another team was as desperate as the Cleveland Browns to get that guy, I feel like he could get that. Whatever it is he wants. We don't know what he wants, but whatever it is that he wants, if there was a team that desperate, I think they could get it. The problem is the teams that are desperate don't have very good teams. And then they're not willing to give up 2 first-round picks to go along with the money they have to give up.
Yeah, so they don't want to sacrifice what it would take to get him, and they don't have the right pieces to right away to build around him.
Because you already have 2 examples. You have Denver and you have Cleveland. They gave up a lot for both quarterbacks. They gave up a lot of money in those deals, and now they're having to figure out what are some ways around for us to make this work.
But those are atrocious examples, Pinky, because they both went after the wrong guy. Everybody should have been out on Deshaun Watson. Nobody should have been anywhere near that. First of all, because he sat for a year and a half. 2 years, year and a half, however you want to look at it. I say a year and a half because he wasn't completely forced away from he could still be around the organization that first half of that first year. And then they pretty much told him to just go home and stay away. So that's why I say a year and a half, but I get the 2 years because he didn't play in 2 years on a football field. But nobody should have gone after Deshaun Watson. And if anybody listened to the show over, the last 3 years that we've been doing this, there might not have been anybody higher on Deshaun Watson than me before that all hit, to the point where I actually got Pinky to come off a stance that he had, and not necessarily in the sense that Deshaun Watson's a great passer, but the sense that he is a top 3 quarterback in the league. And he blew all of that. So that's poor example in my opinion. The Broncos, another trash example, because I was on an island and everybody told me I was stupid. Never should have gone after Russell Wilson. I didn't think anything about that fit the situation. And it's proved to be true. Can Sean Payton turn him around? I don't know. What I will say, though, about Lamar Jackson that the other 2 don't necessarily have is the fact that he was their entire offense. Without any weapons, they did him no favors other than at the running back position, and they were hurt.
The tight end.
Right, and the tight end is solid. Andrews is top 2 in the league. But couldn't get wide receivers. Bateman could have been a beast, but he was injured. He didn't play. And I've been saying for the last 3 years, what have I been saying about that offensive play calling, Pinky?
I mean, it's predictable.
It was terrible. And that is the reason people were saying he couldn't throw the ball. He's injury prone. Look at the offensive play call. They did him no favors to put him in a position to show all of his talent and keep him healthy. So when you say all of that and you look at the big picture, why have you not heard anything from the Jets? Because the Jets giving up 2 first rounds to get Lamar Jackson would be back-end first rounds. And we always say back-end first rounds are just as good as top of the first, second. So if that's what you're giving up and you can grab Lamar Jackson and put him around the talent you already have, would that not be worth it for the Jets?
But they're going to give up less of that for Aaron Rodgers. So
For
they'll
2
be fine.
years? We know how I feel about A-Rod. He should be in orange and blue.
It's a short-term solution. And that's why the Jets are like one of the only teams interested in Aaron Rodgers, because a lot of teams don't want that short-term solution.
But by all accounts, you're probably giving up 2 firsts. The only difference is the Packers are going to eat some of that salary.
You're not giving up 2 firsts. You're not. It's because of the salary. Because of the salary, you're not going to have to give up 2 firsts. You're going to get Aaron Rodgers for maybe a first, but it might be like a second and a third. You're not going to have to give up as much because of that salary.
If the Packers eat the salary like I've been hearing, you are going to have to give up those picks.
You'll give up a little bit more if they're paying the salary. Yes.
I don't think the Packers would want to. I don't think the Packers will want to. They're already in cap trouble.
Right. They want the team to take on that. But if I'm going to take on the $60 million and you want to get rid of him, which that was the rumor at the Combine, Rich Eisen had that. He had a very good piece on YouTube. 5 rumors I heard at the Combine. Really good thing. It's about 10 minutes long. And one of them was that the Packers don't want Aaron Rodgers back. Which is why they gave him permission to talk to the Jets right away.
I'll pose this to both of you. Pinky first, and then Cody, tell me your side. Would you guys rather do rental Rodgers for 2 years or get Lamar Jackson for the next 10?
You're not going to get Lamar for 10, but I'll take Aaron Rodgers.
Why wouldn't you get him for 10?
You're
26.
He hasn't played a full season in 2 years, man. He's not going to make it that long. He's not.
Okay. Cody?
I
got you. I'm not trying to argue right now. I asked for your opinion. You gave it to me.
He is better in all aspects than Cam Newton. He absolutely is.
You shouldn't even compare him to Cam Newton. Let's not even put those two in the same sentence.
But he is not going to have the longevity at his size. And he's not the pocket passer he needs to be at this point in his career, which might have been different if he had a better offense earlier in his career. But I don't think 6 years into your career, you're just suddenly going to become a pocket passer. I don't think that's going to happen unless he goes and works with Andy Reid. Andy Reid can work miracles. I don't see the Chiefs getting Lamar Jackson. So I just don't think it's going to happen. So I don't think you're going to get 10 years from Lamar.
The dream GM in me I'll take Lamar Jackson I'll take him for 8 years because I see 8 years.
Okay.
But you have to realize you're only going to get 6 years of true Lamar Jackson. I think he has 6 years left of those running legs. And then he's hopefully in those 6 years, he can figure out how to be a pocket passer. But in this league, you don't need much. You just have to be somewhat mobile, which he more than is mobile. And with these receivers he has, he would have an Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, and Breece Hall as a running back. But the Jets make sense.
So here's my thing. I think, and I hope I say this so that it comes out the way I'm thinking it. And I know I'm going to be on an island with this too. I'm par for the course with my takes, right? But I think Lamar Jackson is a lot more of a poor man's Patrick Mahomes than people want to give him credit for when it comes to his passing ability. The reason I say that is because I've seen him do it in flashes. But Baltimore's offense was so trash. Their play calling was so terrible that you didn't get the opportunity to see that as much as he should have been able to showcase it. So if you can get him around a smarter offensive mind, which hopefully the Jets would be, you would see a lot more Patrick Mahomes than you would Cam Newton, in the sense that he would look to be mobile to throw the ball downfield rather than mobile to run downfield.
And I think you would be absolutely right, Caleb, if he had a good offense to start with. But he hasn't. He's built up tendencies that's hard to break. And I just don't know if there's offensive coaches right now that are needing a quarterback that are going to be able to fix some of those problems.
Okay.
So when you give a guy that kind of money, and then you still have to build that team around him, which could be done, but it's going to take a lot to do that.
Well, I would seriously, if I'm the Jets, I would go to Lamar's camp right now, and I would say, we will give you $1 million more, $5 million more guaranteed than Kyler Murray got, and we're more than willing to give up those first because we know with you, we have a shot at the Super Bowl. That's my feeling on the situation. Now I've been a lot higher on Lamar coming out of college, and Pinky's gonna hate this. Pinky always hates this. Dude won a Heisman, and I watched him throw the ball plenty well in college. I've seen flashes of that in the pros. I just don't feel like he's been asked to do it the right way, and I believe that was all offensive scheme and offensive play calling. I do not believe that was Lamar.
No.
So because of that, I am not worried about his ability to turn more into a quote-unquote pocket passer than what he's shown already.
It's cool, bro. Nathaniel Hackett's the offensive coordinator in New York. He ain't helping Lamar do anything, bro. So,
damn it, I forgot about that, Pinky. I still had LaFleur in my head. I forgot it was Hackett. I'm out now.
Yeah,
forget everything I just said. I apologize. Cheers to you, good man.
Baltimore's offensive is going to get a new offensive coordinator. I believe the offensive coordinator in Baltimore.
Munchkin from Georgia. That doesn't do anything for me. That doesn't move the needle in the slightest.
Munchkin was pretty good when he was the Tampa Bay offensive coordinator with Jameis. He just couldn't get Jameis to stop throwing picks.
I would suggest that he was part of the problem of why Jameis threw so many picks, because if you know your quarterback's going to do that, you should call the plays a little bit differently. Not chuck it down the field 80 times a game.
Jameis was bad, bro. I'm going to give him a little bit more credit than that, but
you can't say Jameis was. I mean, yes, he threw 30 picks. He also threw over 30 touchdowns and over 5,000 yards. So he was doing something right at the same time.
We know Lamar is not going to be the level you want him to be, which would be amazing without any weapons. And
agree, but the Jets have the weapons. That's where I, like Cody mentioned, Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson are two studs, young studs. The wide receiver position. They got a young stud at running back. Granted, he's coming off an ACL, but that doesn't really seem to be much of an issue these days in professional sports, so he should be fine. I mean, solid offensive line. That defense is killer. It seems like the perfect fit to me. And Pinky, you know how I feel about Aaron. You know how I feel about my boy Aaron.
Yes.
I just feel like if I could get
last year, you said he was still going to win MVP.
No. I said they were going to make the playoffs still. I got off the MVP bandwagon in like week 5. I had to jump off of that real quick because I knew that was wrong. It wasn't going to happen. I did still think they were going to make the playoffs. And last week of the season, all they had to do was beat Detroit and they would have been in. And they couldn't even do that. So, yeah, Aaron, I love you, my guy. I still think you can play at an elite level. But what I'd have to give up to get you, I feel like I would be willing to pay a little bit more to get Lamar for 3-4 times the amount of years. You know what I mean? So
Aaron's a short-term rental. You're getting him 2, maybe 3.
I think the other thing people are forgetting. Yes, exactly. I think the other thing people are forgetting is the salary cap in the market is going to continuously jump. Everybody said Patrick Mahomes' deal was an awful deal. It was going to handcuff the Chiefs. They weren't going to be able to do anything.
And
now it looks like the best thing they'd ever done. Yeah, now that's not what people were saying when it first went down. They were saying $500 million. This is terrible. They're not going to have any money to sign anybody.
Understand the contract, though.
Yes, Pinky, you were saying it. You were saying it's too much money to pay a quarterback and be able to put a team around him. And then the actual details of the deal came out. Everybody realized what they had done, what Patrick had done for the team. It all made sense. You could do a very similar deal for Lamar Jackson. Now you're going to do more guaranteed, obviously, than what Mahomes got at that time. But the point is long term, it's still going to be cheaper than what you're going to have to do 2-3 years down the road when you have to start over and find a new franchise quarterback.
All signs point to he's signing a smaller deal with the Ravens.
Now, here's the kicker, Pinky, and then we can and Cody, you jump in on this too, and then we can move on to some of the other things that have happened here in the last couple of days. You franchise tag him this year, non-exclusive. By all accounts, it looks like he's going to be playing for you at $32.5 million or whatever.
He ain't playing for that.
He doesn't have a choice, Pinky. I'm tired of people saying that. He sits out this year, fine. The Ravens still have you locked up the year after that, the year after that, the year. Nothing resets. You don't get to count this as a year against it. So you either play on that deal or you're done playing football. That's what it's going to come down to. And he's not sitting. So he will be playing for the Ravens on that deal because, like you have both said, I don't see another team stepping up to pay him because I do believe there's collusion and he's going to be back with Baltimore. They're going to have to pay him again next year. So are they going to non-exclusive him a second time? Are they going to just franchise tag him a second time? Because I don't see Lamar saying, yeah, let's finally work out a deal after this, the way they did him so dirty. So then what do you do after this season if you're Baltimore?
I think Lamar's done, man. I just don't think he's going to play for them. I just don't. I think his feelings are hurt. I just don't think he's going to play.
Do you think he's done? He's Colin Kaepernicking. He's out. We're done. He's never going to play in the NFL again. That's what you feel is about to happen?
I mean, he obviously had the cards on the table to come back and play last season. He could have played in the playoffs. He chose not to because he didn't have a deal.
Nope. I'm not letting you go. Nope. You are not going big perk on this shit. By all accounts, all the players in that locker room said he was not playing. He could not play. He was not able to play.
He has said he could have played, but he
hasn't.
Because he didn't have a contract.
He did not say that. He didn't say that at all. He came out and said, I was not healthy enough to play. That's what his tweet said. And then all the players in that locker room backed him up on that. The only people that said he could have played were the Baltimore Ravens. So do not put out this false narrative where he could have played.
For one of the best athletes out there, if Phillip Rivers can play on a torn ACL, he could have played.
Phillip Rivers doesn't run, dude. Phillip Rivers stands there like a statue.
If you're a good quarterback, you don't need to run, right?
Phillip Rivers had weapons to throw the ball to. What is Lamar going to do if he's just standing in the pocket?
There was no reason for him to play. I would not have played. I don't think he should have played. I'm saying he technically could have played. But he's upset with the Ravens. He knows that they've told him, here's your worth. We're not going to pay you more than this. He thinks he's worth more than that. Now, again, he doesn't have an agent. So when they tell him, this is why we're not giving you this money, it's to his face.
Yes, it is. That's a great
hurtful.
point, Pinky. Hell yeah, it is.
Painful, right? Somebody tells you, hey, I'm worth this. And somebody says, well, you're not because of X, Y, Z. And you don't have that agent to be the buffer. Because your agent says they're coming in low. They're not, they're not giving us what we're wanting. And the agent's kind of smoothing it over, right?
Sure.
He doesn't have that. He's getting that face-to-face. That bridge is not – it's like there's like a twig left on that bridge. Like they burned that bridge.
So you think he's done in the NFL? Like, honestly, that's your feelings on it.
He's not playing on that tag, and that's my opinion.
So last just to clarify, if he's not playing on that tag, what do you think happens with Lamar?
I don't know, man. I don't know. He sits out a year, and then they get something done to trade him after that. But at that point, it'll be less than 2 firsts. Like, obviously they don't value him, or they would have just franchise tagged him and said, no, we can work this out.
Sure.
They said, no, we're going to give you the non-exclusive tag so you can go find out from other teams what your worth is and see if they'll sign you.
But they set him up to fail in that regard, unfortunately.
No team's going to sign him for that big money and give up 2 firsts. They're just not going to do it.
Okay, fair. Cody, what do you feel is his future in this league? Where do you think this saga goes from here?
I mean, I think he's gonna probably play on this tag. I mean, you can't sit out because your value is just gonna plummet. So you're gonna probably play on this tag, and then hopefully get a work a deal out with the Ravens somehow. But obviously, they don't want to give him what he wants. So, I mean, you go out. I mean, if I'm Lamar Jackson, I go out and I ball to show them my worth, and to show other teams my worth. Because I'll be, and then if I'm Lamar Jackson, I go out and ball out. I'm gonna be like, hey, and the Ravens are like, oh, we want to give you this money. Be like, no, like this team's gonna offer me more money, you know. So, I mean, if I'm Lamar Jackson, I play on the tag and I just ball out. So.
I like it. I like it.
But it just opens it up to next year. They can tag him again.
I mean, but only you could be your best salesman.
Pinky, you might know this more because I haven't looked into this yet. If they non-exclusive franchise tag him a second year, is the pick compensation the same?
Technically, I think if they still non-exclusive, it's still two firsts.
Okay.
It hasn't been used very often.
No. And really the only example we really have of really anybody really beating the system with a franchise tag is Kirk Cousins. Betting on himself, letting them pay him on it twice, and then going and getting his money. So this is rare when, you know, a big time name gets put into this situation. So we'll keep an eye on the Lamar Jackson saga. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about there, and you know, deep dive into all the different little webs that have been woven. But there's been a lot of other things that have happened, and rumors that have been popping up and things of that nature. Pinky, run us down a couple of the other things here that have gone on.
So the other big news that came out, Derek Carr signed with the New Orleans Saints.
Talk about sticking it to a team that screwed you over. Because by all accounts, they had a deal in place to trade him to New Orleans. And Carr said no because he has a no-trade clause. He said no, only to a month later sign with the New Orleans Saints after the Raiders released him. Just to make sure Raiders get nothing from it.
Which is what he should have done. Because he had all that leverage. They pinched him. Again, it's not a surprise. McDaniels has done this before. Again, for a quarterback whisperer to have a good quarterback like Carr and not get the best out of him shows me how good McDaniels is, in my opinion.
Oh, that offense looked stale and trash last year, other than Josh Jacobs.
Awful.
And then they go
anything out of Darren Waller. You can't get anything out of what's his name? The white guy.
Hunter Renfrow.
Oh, Hunter Renfrow.
And then you decline Jacobs' fifth-year option, only to turn around and franchise tag him the following offseason. Like, let's think about how well this organization is being run right now. Even John Gruden did a better job than that, and that's saying something.
The Raiders did franchise Jacobs, which sucks. I wish he was a free agent, but I'm excited for Carr. I think that's a good spot for him. He did play for Dennis Allen. The Jets would have been better, but I think the Jets were still sitting there waiting
they want Rodgers. The problem I have with good for Derek Carr because he got paid, first of all. How New Orleans is paying him, I don't know. So people should start looking under the table because they didn't have the money to pay it.
They're going to be making some moves. They're going to have to restructure some contracts. They're going to have.
That's where I'm going with this. That team is going to be trash around him. Alvin Kamara is not playing this year. I will say that now, and I feel very confident in saying so. Michael Thomas is washed. I said that for the last 3 years, and he has done nothing but prove me right. Olave is a beast. But if he's the number one and everybody's doubling him, he's not going to be able to show as much potential as he could otherwise.
They just have nothing behind Olave.
That leaves Taysom Hill, and we all know Taysom Hill can ball. He's just not going to be the guy that, if your only weapon is going to go human highlight reel to make everything better. He might have 1 or 2 games where he blows up just because that's what he does as a Swiss Army knife. But you're not sitting there going, hot damn, Taysom Hill, Derek Carr, woo!
No, Kamara's. I mean, he's absolutely missing at least 6 games, if not the whole season. But
there is video of what he did. There is no way he's only missing 6 games. Zero chance that it's only 6. There is no way it's anything less than a year. Because when that court case starts and there is video of him and his buddies curb stomping this dude, Kareem Hunt got 8 games for a love tap.
Well, it wasn't a love tap. He did kick.
It was a love tap.
It wasn't as hard as people.
That was like a 3-year-old soccer player kicking her in the stomach. That was not a full-on kick to the stomach.
Everybody that comments on the Kareem Hunt thing, like, didn't actually watch the video. Because
I saw the video multiple times.
Well, again, you get it. Like, he kicked her, but it's not like he like wound up from 5 feet back and kicked her or continued.
If there was an equivalent to a slap for a kick, that's what he did to her.
Right.
And people try to make it sound like he went Ray Rice on her, and it's nowhere close. And he got 8 games for that. Kamara is out the season. Guaranteed. So I don't see New Orleans, like, good for Carr, he got paid, but, man, if he doesn't – plus, Dennis Allen is a terrible head coach. Like, his offense has never been good.
How about last season when they traded a future first-round pick to move up 2 spots?
Yeah.
With the Eagles.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of smart decisions are being made in that organization, right?
So at least they should at least get a competent quarterback, but I don't know what else they'll have around him.
Poor Derek Carr.
Cody, what do you think about Carr?
I mean, he's played with Dennis Allen before, but he's done nothing. I think there was a stat line I saw today that he had the exact same season as all the other New Orleans Saints quarterbacks. The exact same, like right down the middle. And I think his completion percentage was like 2.4 or something. Yep. So I was all like, I mean, the Saints are getting a Saints quarterback in Carr, so. Yeah,
you're absolutely right, Cody. I saw the same thing. Yardage was basically identical. The touchdown interceptions was identical. The completion percentage for Carr was slightly worse. And he had Waller, Renfro, and Devontae Adams. Exactly. The Saints quarterbacks, which were Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton, didn't have Olave for half the season. Thomas was non-existent. Kamara was hit and miss last year. And they still put up the same numbers as Derek Carr. Like, look, I think Carr's better than that, so a lot of that could be blamed on Josh McDaniels. But if that's what you're trading across the board equally, what's the point for the Saints? Like, what are you guys thinking as an organization?
Why are you could have paid Jameis Winston less than like a quarter of that money, and it would have been probably just the same outcome.
Yeah. So bad move for the Saints, great move for Derek Carr. And he goes from the number 1 party city in America to the number 2 party city in America. And he's going to stay home in both states and both cities and never go out.
He just collects his money, bro.
Oh, what else we got, Pinky? There's been some other stuff going down.
Well, then we had Danny Dimes got signed today. And
$40 million a year.
40 million.
It's not horrible.
Look, long term, it's going to be a cheap deal. Just like I've been talking about, that cap's going to go up. Things are going to get pushed. Long term, good deal. especially if you fully believe Dayball can continue to bring him along.
So Dayball really just needs to get the same production out of him. I mean, their wide receiver weapons, if you look at it, are really not good at all. And
Did anybody have a worse wide receiver room in the league? I mean, let's be honest.
On when you think about it, they did, but they performed well as a group.
They did.
Richie James,
better than expected
Darius
for sure.
Clayton,
Isaiah,
But I would argue, I would
Isaiah.
argue the Bears even had a better wide receiver room on paper than the Giants did.
Possibly.
Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, Chase Claypool halfway through the season. I think you could argue that the Bears even had a better wide receiver room on paper.
I think Claypool's a bum, but that's me. I actually had a guy. I was at the gym. My daughter had jiu-jitsu tonight, and we were talking, and we were talking about Danny Dimes, and he was like, "I can't believe they did that." And I was like, "If you don't pay him, you got to have a contingency plan." And I just don't know if they had a contingency plan in place that put them in a situation.
And unfortunately, they did well enough last year to get into the playoffs, but that also then hurt their draft capital for this draft coming up, to the point where they're so far down the board, you're not in the quarterback market at that point,
right?
For one of the top guys. So you can't do it in the draft. The free agency market for quarterbacks this year was thin at best. So you're right. They didn't have much of a choice. I said before, I would have given him 30 a year and been perfectly content with it. I thought 40 was too much, but I understand the thought process. It also allows them to turn around and then franchise tag Saquon and see what they can do about, which they did, which then allows them to work out a long-term deal with him throughout the season, which I think they would also do, because let's be honest, you can then go into this draft has a decently deep running back class. So you could grab a running back third or fourth round, to bring in and be a bit more of a bruiser for Saquon and allow Saquon to do more of the passing game kind of stuff that Dayball likes to do, move him around the formations as a weapon that can prolong his career, keep him out of injury, which then makes sense to look at Saquon in a long-term deal as well. So you get to keep your core pieces and hopefully then add to the weapons you have. So it's not a bad deal for the Giants. I think they slightly overpaid, but it's not a bad deal.
Cody, what do you think?
That's not a bad deal at all. Just keep letting Daniel, like you said, Pinky, you don't have a contingency plan. You're too deep in the draft, and you don't want to move up. So, I mean, you invest in Danny Dimes, and hopefully he can continue that development. And like Caleb said, try to get another running back to complement Saquon, because that's what it seems like the NFL is doing now, is getting these 1-2 punches in running backs and just to have that longevity and a different look at.
And their O-line is much better than it had been in the past.
Exactly, yeah. And their defense is on the rise as well. So
I agree. Yeah, I was just going to say that. I agree, Cody.
So Caleb, let me throw this at you.
Uh-oh.
Because we talk about this on a regular basis.
Where are we going?
What if the Giants had stayed put 2 years ago and decided we're going to let Danny Dimes go based on how bad his performance had been and taken Justin Fields? Because they had the pick that they traded for Justin Fields. Now they wouldn't have had Kadarius Toney, because
they moved him anyways, which I thought was a mistake. But obviously that relationship had been burned, so it wasn't worth keeping him.
They ended up with 5-7 out of that trade, and I think the Bears were 5. So that was Thibodeau, who turned out to be a pretty good player when he's playing, and 7 was Evan Neal. Now I think they could have got Thibodeau at 7, so I don't think they lose a lot in that option. What would you think in that scenario?
I mean, you know how I feel about Fields, Pinky.
I would have taken Fields over Danny Dimes. Like, that would have been easy for me.
That's surprising to hear you say.
I'm not a Danny Dimes guy at all. Limited arm
I know
talent.
you're not.
He until this season, he turned the ball over a lot. Like, he was Jameis Winston bad at turning the ball over.
I think so. Here's the thing about Danny Dimes. He was surrounded by a trash coaching staff, a trash offensive line, and no weapons. Which is no different than what Justin Fields dealt with his first year, and as far as I'm concerned, right now. I think the way the Bears are running their organization is trash. I think Poles is an idiot. Now he can completely redeem himself with this draft in this offseason. I don't have any faith that he will, but he could. I think the coaching staff they have, I think the fact that it took him as long as they did to start building the offense around his talents, the fact that they had him running for his life the first half of the season. People want to say Fields was running and all this stuff the whole season and this and that, and wow, according to Pinky, best running back in the league, and
really good.
He did that because he was scared he was going to get murdered, not because the play calling was allowing for those options to happen. So if you look at that and you see that offense is trash. Those coaches are trash. So Danny and Justin were in very similar situations to start their careers. Overall talent, I think Fields is his ceiling is much higher than Danny Dimes, I feel like. I think Fields' arm talent is going to be something that if he gets an opportunity will be showcased at a high level, a very high level. And again, Pinky hates this, but in college, Fields slang that ball with the best of them. And not only with the best of them, he did it at the highest level on the biggest stage and beat Trevor Lawrence twice, throwing the ball. When he was coming out of college, Fields was not said to be, look at this amazing running talent. That was never on the table in his write-up for the draft. So the fact that all of a sudden he's showing that, and I fully believe he has the arm talent to turn it around and be an amazing thrower of the football if there's talent to throw it to, I would take Fields all day. I would honestly say I actually kind of like Danny Dimes, and I think he is a poor man Justin Fields, to be perfectly honest with you. That's a thought I've had in my head for a while, to the point where
wheels than people think.
He does. To the point where nobody likes to hear people talk about their own fantasy team, but in a dynasty league, I dumped Kyler Murray, and I got ETN, Danny Dimes, and a couple other pieces back because I thought there was more upside there. So I think Danny Dimes is a poor man Justin Fields, which is kind of weird to say because it's kind of backwards because Danny's been in the league longer than Justin Fields has, but I'll say it again and I'll continue to say it. If you want to know if your quarterback's any good and if he has the talent to succeed, you do what Buffalo did, you do what Jacksonville did, you do what Philadelphia did, and you go out and you put the talent around them. And this is why. It's going to do two things for you. It's going to tell you if your quarterback's any good, and if he isn't, you already have the pieces in place for when you do get a quarterback. And how teams haven't figured that out yet and made these moves is beyond me. If I'm the Bears, I'm going out and I'm grabbing DeAndre Hopkins. And I'm going to get a veteran top 10 wide receiver still who can help my quarterback develop and give him a piece to make sure he's got that safety valve to throw the ball to.
I mean, but Hopkins has got to want to go play there, though, too.
Well, obviously, he's not going to want to do that. I get that. I'm just saying those are the moves you should be looking to make in order to find out if what you have is worth keeping. Cody, you are a master at finding, again, kind of talking fantasy, but it also, to me, says a lot about your eyes for the game and what you see talent-wise throughout the league. You've made plenty of great moves that I've seen in fantasy. What do you see talent-wise when you're evaluating somebody like Danny Dimes, Justin Fields, talent around them, things of that nature?
Exactly like you said, you go out and you pick up some pieces to build around them. You always want to build around the quarterback to see what you truly have. You know, like I said, I think the Giants are a couple wide receivers away to truly see what Danny Dimes truly is, because they have the O-line, they have the running back. I think they have a solid tight end in Daniel Bellinger. You know, he's on the right. He's a good young tight end. So you go out in the draft, maybe in free agency, see what you can get at wide receiver, draft a wide receiver. Because this wide receiver class I kind of like this wide receiver class.
We'll get there. Hang on. I didn't want to go down that road yet because we're just kind of talking what's happening now. Pinky's going to be in Kansas City for the draft. If you have the time, you're coming on, and you and I are going to be chopping it up with hopefully a couple other people during the draft. That's my goal this year. And we'll kind of go through that first round together and just kind of make a night of it. But I know you and I will be talking just with Pinky and everything else as that's starting to lead up, because you and I have already said behind closed doors, if you will, that we've already got our eyes on some guys. And there's already
it's draft season, baby. It's draft season.
So, if you already noticed, I've already moved up in the draft to pick up some pieces. You know, I'm kind of in a rebuild mode right now, but like I said,
we'll get there, Cody. We'll get there. I don't want to go down that road just yet because we'll get a little ahead of ourselves.
But going back to the Giants, you just like you said, you got to bring in some weapons to truly see what you truly have. But he got you into the playoffs.
If they don't draft a wide receiver in the first round, I would be first or second round. I'd be shocked.
Bubba, you're my guy. Bubba, I'm going to send you some cupcakes, my guy.
We do whiskey. We don't do cupcakes. We do whiskey.
Well, he's not whiskey level yet, okay? He hasn't been on the show. You got to be on the show before I send you a bottle of whiskey. Come on now.
That sounds like an invite, Bubba. That sounds like an invite.
But the fact that he's trying to pump us up, that's cupcake level right there for sure. And I'll teach you how to properly eat a cupcake. For those of you that don't know the proper way to eat a cupcake, you break the top off, you flip it over, you smash it onto the bottom, you make a sandwich, and you eat the cupcake.
Okay,
that's
never
absolutely.
If you haven't tried it, do it. You'll never eat a cupcake any other way. I promise you.
That's expert level. Expert level. Who else is on the quarterback carousel? We talked about Rodgers, Lamar, Danny Dimes, Derek Carr.
I will say this is the last thing I was planning on ending with, Pinky. And if you guys think of something else, by all means, we'll go all night. I don't care. We have fun. I might have to go get some more whiskey if we're going to do that. But the last thing I would end on is
bring the bottle to the table.
The last thing I will end on is, and I don't know if there's a lot to talk about with it, but I just think it's just another weapon in the arsenal to a team that is on the rise that I called as a dark horse to get in the playoffs, and it came true. Calvin Ridley was reinstated. And if you get Calvin Ridley at 80% of what he was before he had to sit a year, that Jacksonville offense is looking really scary.
Well, let's be honest. As long as Jacksonville can still continue to run the ball efficiently like they did last year, they're in a good spot.
My boy Etienne is a beast.
So,
but
fingers crossed that he stays healthy. When he does, he was pretty good. He was pretty good.
Would you say healthy, Etienne better than Najee Harris, like I had originally said?
It's so hard, man. Najee Harris plays behind like the worst offensive line in football. Huh?
Cody?
What did?
Okay, I wasn't a Najee Harris fan this past year. He only averaged like 3 yards per carry and only get like 2 touchdowns, I believe, on the year. Like I was down on him this year. I mean, he also, but I believe they stacked the box on him because I believe they didn't have a quarterback.
You've got a shitty quarterback. You don't have a lot of weapons, and you've got. I think that is the worst O-line in football. The worst.
I'll agree with that.
Avatar, you are completely right. Where was this Avs team against Dallas and Seattle? 6-0, start of the third. That's pretty. I'm glad I didn't bet the under. Thank God.
Wow.
God.
Also, the
Autocorrect that.
Sharks
That's
are
terrible.
kind of in the bottom of the barrel with my Ducks. So, I mean, you got to beat up on the weak teams. So
You should, but you can always play down to your competition too. So, there's always that.
Good win for the Avs tonight. Wonderful conversation with Cody, dropping a little bit of knowledge on the trade deadline for us. Cody, we always appreciate having you on, my guy. And like I said, get ready to be back here in a month, man. Get your stuff ready because you'll be back here once we got those seats
I
set.
have been doing some research on this draft class, so you want to talk shop anytime.
Well, we'll have NHL playoffs here in a month, roughly. You'll be on for that, and then you're on my short list of people to get on here for night one of the draft because Pinky won't be around. So we'll plan on having you on here night one.
Are you going to do a special Thursday night show when I'm not here?
Man,
Is that what's going to happen?
That was the plan. That was the plan the whole time. Now, would I rather be doing a Thursday night special for the podcast or out with you at the draft in KC? But since that's not an option for me, I'm going to have to go with the Thursday night special. And if I have to do it by myself, I will. And people just have to.
Andy and I will probably
4 hours.
Andy and I will probably at least pop in. We'll pop in.
I can allow that. We could work something out. We probably won't be able to hear you, and we probably most definitely won't be able to understand either one of you.
I guess that depends on if we get. We haven't decided yet, but yeah, the first night of the draft, as long as the weather's good, we'll probably be down there in the crowd. Avatar,
it's
you
not
know it, baby.
30-0 Avatar. It's close. It's not 30-0 though. It is 25-0, I believe. Well, if you're going back to last season, then yes. If you're going back to last season, then yes. This season is 25-0, I believe, right now. But
God, we have the draft at the end of April. I might have my tattoo by then. We'll have a special for that. It's gonna be a good month.
We got a lot of good stuff coming up. Best sporting event in all of sports is coming up here in a couple weeks. The first 4 days of the tourney is I don't think there's anything better.
WrestleMania, right? WrestleMania.
We will have that as well. Pinky and I do like our nonsense in WrestleMania. If you listen to us at all, we do like to talk about that a little bit. Nothing better than men's soap opera. And let's be honest, women are all about it these days too.
Some of those women are fine too.
Like the wrestling. And I will say, this might make some of you wrestling fans mad. It might make other people really happy. But I'm going to throw it out there anyways. If you haven't seen the South Park episode about WWE, you highly, highly recommend from your boy here. And you need to go check it out because it is hilarious and very accurate.
I have not seen that. I am so behind on South Park. It's not even fun.
Dude, this is old. Like.
Dude, I saw season 1 of South Park.
I know, but this episode I'm specifically referencing is good 5 to 10 years old. It's not a newer episode by any means. The cat looks scared for its life. It's probably a good time to leave. Cody, as always, we appreciate you. We'll talk with you soon. Pinky, my guy, I'll see you back here next Tuesday. Anybody else have any thoughts, concerns, questions, comments, whatever it is?
Hey,
you know how to get a hold of us.
Guess what we get next Monday? What's next Monday? Anybody? Nobody? NFL free agency. Tampering, period, is Monday. So on Tuesday, we'll have a lot of NFL to talk about. A lot of deals are signed that first day.
Good. So people next week plan on real heavy basketball because we'll have the brackets and a lot of fun football.
It's all about KU, baby. It's all about KU.
They'll get bounced in the second round like normal. On that note, as always,
that's a dick move. That's a dick move.
Spend that time with your loved ones, family, friends, anybody you consider in your circle. Do not waste an opportunity to take advantage of those moments. We love all you guys.
Hold on. Before you push it, don't forget, check out all the great podcasts on the MHRT network. There's some really good stuff. Check it out. We're out.
Listen to our boy Bubba and get us up to 500.
Right.
Love you, people. Peace.